Hey there viewers, welcome back to another episode of Ray of All Trades. Behind me is a John Deere D110. Will not start, and it also needs a spring tune-up, I guess you want to call it, but it's fall, so kind of weird. Anyway, let's prep it for the over the winter storage, and so that it's ready to go in the spring, and find out why this thing won't start. So I've had a battery charger going on this thing for quite a while. Battery charger says it's full. Kind of got my doubts. I think it just... These batteries, you can sometimes get, some of them will last you a couple years, and then all of a sudden you'll find one that'll last you like 5 years. And there's no rhyme or reason as to which one's which. So yeah, I'm pushing a decent charge to it right now. But since it's so high of a charge, I got a feeling that it's probably a completely dried out battery. So let's pull the charger off of it. For those of you that noticed that it read negative, I had the meter backwards. It's no big deal. Meter's auto sensing, it'll tell you. Otherwise, red should be red, red should be positive, and black should be negative. So let's see what we got here. So 12.9. So as soon as the headlights come on, 12.6. Yeah, she drops to 9 volts. That battery's just shot. Let's jump it, get it into the garage so we can swap the battery and spring maintenance, but it's setting it up for the fall. The owner wants to use it a couple more times this winter. Otherwise, I would say just hold off on the battery till spring, but since she needs to use it, we're going to swap it. Let's see about getting the battery out and swapped out before we go too much further. Strange design. Used a zip tie to hold it in place. So you can just use a small screwdriver and open it up and pop it right out of there. Looks like some 10mm nuts and bolts. Positive on this side, negative on that side. It had a 6-month warranty. Looking for a date code. Ah, there we go. 5 of 17. So there's a perfect example of a battery that lasted 5 years. There's a lot of people who are happy to get 2 years out of their battery. So I have had really good luck with Duralast batteries. It's AutoZone brand around where I'm at. I assume with everybody. They're not a sponsor, but I've had really good luck with their batteries. Truthfully, they're a little bit cheaper than a lot of the big box stores around here. So, run them in my boat for trolling motor, starting batteries, everything else. Okay. A little bit of a rerouting because the posts are on the wrong side. Not a huge deal. So before I hook this one up, I want to see if there's a battery draw or a drain on this thing. So the easiest way to tell if there's a battery drain, you can use a voltmeter and put it on amps and put it between the two leads like that. There's another way though, and that is you can use just a regular test light and put the test light between your negative cable and the battery itself. And if the battery, or if the light lights up, you'd have a draw on it. So let's see, let's turn on our headlights. See the battery, I don't know, can you see that? The light lights up because there's a draw on the battery now. So with the key off, there's no draw on the battery. I don't know if that makes sense. It just means that there's current flowing through it, which lights up the light. If it would light up with nothing on, that would mean that something is drawing power. Like I said, the other way to do this is put an amp meter between these two and check milliamps, things like that. But this happens to be a snap-on test light. I love them because even at the slightest draw, they will illuminate. They'll illuminate very dim, but they will illuminate. I've found that a lot of other lights won't do that. So now I know that I'm not killing the battery just by letting it sit, you know, with a current draw on it. The other thing I want to do is verify that the battery's charging when the motor's running. Just to verify that it was merely an age thing that killed this battery. That's all we're looking at. Let's see if I can get this fancy tie wrap back through there again. So if everything's good on DC voltage, all right, so at 12.7, if it starts up, we want it to increase. Parking brakes on. Okay, so we're above 13 volts with the headlights on, without the headlights on. Tells me that the charging circuit's working. Brand new battery. This customer really takes great care of her equipment. This one may end up getting another 5 years out of it. All right, so for the D110, it calls for this maintenance kit, the LG 271 maintenance kit. It comes with fuel filter, new air filter, 2 quarts of 10W30 oil, John Deere oil filter, and new spark plug, Champion XC92YC, and a little maintenance sticker. So let's get these parts changed. Let's cut the wheel to the left. It gives us enough room for our oil pan to sit. Let's take this cap off. So it's just it's not even a quarter turn, was it 1/16 of a turn? And then just pull that off. That oil O-ring is what keeps it sealed, so we just want to make sure that's clean. We're going to let this sit and drain for a little while. Let's get to the rest of it. Okay, let's put a couple of fuel line clamps on here. So if we happen to lose any fuel, I wanted that out the way anyway. So fuel filters have a direction on them. You want to make sure that it's facing the appropriate direction. Right now this arrow is pointing up, means it's coming from the tank, going up through the line that direction to the carburetor. We want to make sure that this one does the exact same thing. See, there's an arrow right there. It's pointing up. So we want to make sure that this filter goes in that direction. If it doesn't, we're going to have problems. Fuel lines are clamped off. Grab these spring-loaded clamps. Just get them out the way. Let me get a rag because it's going to drip a little bit. And get that right onto that rag. It'll be evaporated before I even get a chance to put the rag into anything. Put our hoses onto the filter, like I said, making sure it's going the right direction. Take your fuel clamps off, the hose clamps, and then put your, I guess those are hose clamps and these are hose clamps, right? Anyway, these hold the hose onto the filter. The ones I'm doing right now, the other ones keep the fuel from going through the hose. Kind of ironic, driving on the parkway and parking on the driveway. That's sort of ironic. So fuel filter's done. Let's get the air filter swapped. This one came with a pre-filter. It's actually really clean. Blow some air off of this one real quick. We're gonna put that back on. The way pre-filters work best for catching fine particles is to have a really thin coat of oil on them. Add a little bit of oil to the filter itself. Put the cap back on. And you just rub it on the outside of the filter. That helps it catch the most amount of dirt. Protects, the air filter actually protects the dirt from getting into the motor. So realistically, it's saving the motor. There we go. Got that locked in place. Got that one locked in place. Looks like the oil is just about done. I want to make sure that O-ring's nice and clean. Make sure that the plug is nice and clean. There you go. Goes right back on and turns and locks in place. Carefully pull the oil pan out. We're going to move it to the other side for the filter. And give ourselves more room by turning the steering wheel the opposite direction. Grab an oil filter wrench. It shouldn't be on there too tight. Probably could have turned it by hand. Pull it off of there. Drain any kind of remaining. There you go, clean up your mess. New filter. Sometimes there's a plastic piece over the top of this. Make sure you always pull that plastic piece off. Didn't realize that we needed to say that, but apparently we do. Coat your gasket with some fresh oil. That helps it come off the next time. And then just hand tight. Hope y'all saw me change that filter out before the battery died. The Briggs, or excuse me, the John Deere with the Briggs 19 horsepower. According to the Briggs website, takes 1.5 quarts of oil. They gave me 2 with the kit. Second quart I'm going to bring down to right there. There you go. I don't know if y'all can see. We're not going to check the oil level till after we start it. We got to get oil into the filter. So we have a brand new spark plug. Let's check the gap real quick and see what it's set at. Should be set right at 30 thousandths. That one was a little bit tight coming out of the box. There we go. That was on there pretty good. 5/8 deep well socket. It's usually a spark plug socket that'll have a rubber boot inside the middle of it. Try to catch this before that battery dies. I didn't make it. Anyway, pulled out the original plug and compared it to the new plug. It's actually burning really well. Nice brown color. It's not heavily black and it's not excessively white. The old one was gapped at 30 thousandths properly. Like I said, this one I had to open it up a little bit to get 30 thousandths out of it. I think it was sitting loose inside that box, so it's very possible it bounced around a little bit and changed the gap. That's why it's always important to check that gap. And then spark plugs come with a sealing gasket right there. So that's why they always tell you never have to crush or really tighten down a spark plug, because you're sealing up that gasket. You got a little bit of dielectric grease. Put on that boot. Help lubricate it. Keep the water out. Help them make a good connection. All right, as far as the maintenance kit's concerned, we've done the oil change, changed out the fuel filter, oil capacity, new spark plug, new air filter, lubricated the pre-filter. Most likely it'll probably start right up because there's still some fuel left up inside here, and then it'll recharge this system, so you'll probably never even hear it stumble. But if all of the gas had drained out, you may have to start something and let it fill back, or crank it for a minute while it let it fill back up. Let's go ahead and start it up, check the oil level so that we can say that all the mechanical's done. Then we'll move on to greasing the axles and spindles and everything, filling the air in the tires, and then we're going to scrape the deck and sharpen the blades. There we go. I was just waiting for the gasoline to fill up inside that fuel filter. It doesn't always fill completely, by the way, so if yours is half full of air and half fuel, then that's perfectly fine. They don't always fill completely. And we checked our level and we're good. So fronts are 14 pounds. Rears are 10 pounds. Here's your tip of the day. Always make sure you check your air pressure before you start leveling the deck. Be surprised what a low tire would do as far as measurements are concerned. The grease fitting hidden behind. These ones on the axle are the most critical that you can take care of on this machine. Axle bearings, the ones in here, wear out very quickly, and I want to say it's the Achilles heel of this particular tractor. So just wipe the dirt off, good grease gun. I saw my cap start to move, tells me I got enough grease in there. Yep. And you have a grease fitting right in there. That's the spindle grease fitting. It's very difficult to show you. It's right where that hole is, right there, that big square. There's a grease fitting straight inside there. There's one there and one on the other side. So I don't remember there being a grease fitting. I swear I found one once before. That's right there is the steering shaft. Right, if I turn it, I'm sorry, that right there is the steering shaft. At the bottom of it is a bushing, and I'm going to try to put just a little bit of WD-40 or some penetrating oil on there. It really needs a grease fitting. There isn't one. Just follow it down to the bottom. Or you can just spray the actual shaft and the WD or the penetrating oil will find its way down to that bushing. Okay, let's put it up on ramps. Like I said, we're going to scrape the deck. Let's check the condition of the belts real quick. He's actually looking pretty decent shape, other than too much leaf debris around there. There's also the belt for the motor. Pretty decent shape. Other than needing a cleaning, which I'm going to power wash this whenever I'm done working on it. The belts and everything appear to be in pretty decent shape. Alright, here's the underside of the deck. We're going to scrape all this debris out of here. This is the blade. There is a bar right here that's casting a shadow, I think. 24 millimeter. So you just block it up with a piece of wood. Alright, so the nut, the washer, and then the blade. So the cutting side of the blade is on this side, right? So when I take the blade comes off, the cutting blade is on this side. So when it goes back on, they usually actually say where they're at too. You know, like this side down or this side up or whatever. But if not, just when you're on this side of the mower where the chute's at, the cutting blade is on this side. So I'm going to sharpen up these blades. Scrape the underside of the deck, put all this back together, and give it a shot. Once you sharpen both sides of the blade, set it on a center balance point and make sure that it's balanced. That way you know how much material you took off of each side. This one here's got a nick in the edge of the blade there. It's sharp. I don't see, just that one little bitty nick is not going to really affect anything. If the blades were much worse than that, I'd say time to change them, but there's a lot of life left on these. Just happened to have hit a rock or something, obviously. I'm going to sharpen the other side and we'll put these things back together. So I don't know if you can tell, the washer has a bow to it. So the idea is when the nut tightens up on it, it's going to spring and basically give most of its tension on this outside edge. Make sure it drops into those the grooves. Tighten it as far as you can by hand. We're going to tighten up the blade to, should be 90 foot-pounds. Just want to block up the blade. So I just shove another wooden block in there like that. There we go. Rinse and repeat. I'm going to do the other side. I'll try to show you underneath. You can see all the debris that fell on the ground anyway. Both blades sharp, and scrape the underside of the deck. Get all the big pieces off. You can kind of see right here all the stuff that I scraped off is on the ground. And so what's left is power wash, put the sticker on this thing, and bring it back. There you go, guys. D110, washed, cleaned, lubed, oil change, ready to go for another season. Hope you guys got something out of the video. If you do, smash that like button, hit the subscribe, helps the channel tremendously, tells me you guys are appreciating what kind of content I'm putting out. Hope you catch you on the next one.